It's May 9th, it's 2023. I'm watching this Avengers. Linda canceled the whole movie. I only got a portion of it, but the portion I got, especially being in the month of May, where the Queen's Library gave a suggestion that I should read The Spanish Daughter. Um, and in there, of course, there's Letters to Papa from Elsa. Just so I can pick up my feed at like Tio, the uncle, and the frozen giants that Thor's people in Marvel and Revelations are speaking of. Um, Once upon a time I heard a really angered YouTuber or something that Tia Freya brought to my attention. It was apparently there was a Hasidic Jewish man, that's the English words that he uses to refer to himself. He was reading something that was not written in English, in their native script. And he translated it to mean, he translated it to English to say that the others don't have a soul. At standard of operating language, I find that incredibly interesting facts, especially with having all of these translation issues and these hiccups in my very real journey where it should have played out differently, but now I'm trapped here. And now there's health concerns at multiple different levels. One of them being biopharmaceutical grade or biological, like through the fumes of, perfume? No, cologne. It's my answer anyway. So, I'm watching this Avengers from 2012, which has a Mayan calendar overlay after I already had the problem in the field with the clock service and the crazy donkey from 99. And the suggestion for me to read, I started in a St. John's that looked very much one way, between the DNA specialist and the down southerner, like the southerner with the corgis, and that Carnegie block with the famous basketball player across the street. Like Midland went straight to Glenway. So, and on the northern boulevard border. So I really thought that that was going to be like home for life until the respected growing up somewhere else was coming for me, until that never happened. And so there's a letter to Papa from Elsa. Disney has an Elsa. It's called Frozen. And in this letter, it's chapter 34 in this particular book. It says, since we left Vincent's. Now, Vincent's, the map in the book tells me that they're referring to it as Ecuador and the Andes Mountains, just so Atlas doesn't get mad at the Seven Sisters, whatever they do. And it says, very really, we've lived in many places. Since we left Vincent's, we lived in many places. My mother is now with a puppeteer named Benjamin. If Chat GPT at an alien intelligent level could speak volumes, I wonder who they would direct their conversation to when things go horribly wrong. For self-correction, perhaps. It says, she says they're married, but I don't remember any ceremonies between her and Benjamin, just so we're clear. I just remember her coming to me one day, introducing him as my new father. She said to call him Papa, but I told her already I have a French father, and his name is Armand Lafont. Did I do right, Papa? And it's signed Elsa. It's interesting. And it's located in chapter 34. Then I'm looking at this Avengers movie. And the Avengers movie has this dark matter mission going on that I've heard very little about, except by way of 60 Minutes reporting, but doesn't look like this. And then this movie, of course. And it says on FX, no less. And then it uses this one-eyed character called Nick Fury. I also find interesting. And they're speaking of this Tesseract. Now, if I go to the current news, the current events, because that's my element school before I got, like when I was in St. John's Episcopalian by the Red Cross and the Blue and White X, it very really for X-Men was by a fish hatchery, and it was what they wanted me in, whoever they be at Family Men. And then at some point, that got taken away, and I got sent into New York City into a different St. John's. That St. John's went by a Vincent's code. And I'm pretty sure that I'm just a wealth of information of like the rest of them don't have a soul. I don't know. That's what the star people were saying in their own hand language. I happen to know I have a soul and I have a star. In fact, I have two of them because that's how in a nothing something can be created. And especially when clocks come into whatever. So I'm watching this, and then they go from this movie Avengers. I'm going to click over to where it's relevant. They have this Bill Gates thing, and he's talking about Chat GPT, and he had an interview going on. So it's like a piece of conjecture, but again, it all kind of ties in at Lumineers at this point. I mean, like, again, they've put out all this stuff about the mutants. I mean, how do I stay safe and get where I need to be when they've been hurting? Like, I mean, isn't there somewhere I read somewhere about the Thousand Islands? I know it's important. I mean, so now they're using this to portray with only one eye Nick Fury. 95, 96. Just so everything's relevant. I met a whole lot of a Spanish speaking population, even though I was in Greek territory. I mean, I was with a Polak and we were in Greek territory in Astoria. But for some reason, there was a whole lot of Spanish speaking going on that floor of the last high school I went to, when even though there was executive function, priority, I wasn't being whatever in the correct fashion. Like I wasn't being introduced to executive functions within the city at that time for New York City. What were they up to in 95, 96? Um, and so, and they were following, even though they say St. John's, they were following some, I don't know if it's a Vincent diet, but it seems crucially important at Benjamin, at Clocks, at the route that this took with the J. Crew failing me, essentially, by forcing me to meet some 90%er at Don Key in some Long Island location in order to, like, take this path for I don't know what reason. I mean, it doesn't seem hygienic. That's...
How bad is it?
That's the problem, sir. We don't know. Dr. Selvig ran an energy surge from the Tesseract 4 hours ago.
NASA didn't authorize Selvig to go to test phase.
He wasn't testing it. He wasn't even in the room. Spontaneous event.
It just turned itself on.
Where are the energy levels now?
Climbing. When Selvig couldn't shut it down, we ordered EVAP.
How long to get everyone out?
Campus should be clear in the next half hour.
We better.
Sir, evacuation may be futile.
We should tell them to go back to sleep.
Maybe feudal. You think? Like, I don't know which feudal family has me entangled in this. I mean, I call it a tussle. Lewis said that he would have called it a tummel.
If we can't control the Tesseract's energy, there may not be
But again, those are feudal clues in the field.
a minimum safe distance.
I need you to make sure the phase 2 prototypes are shipped out.
Sir, is that really a priority right now?
Until such time as the world ends, we will act as though it intends to spin on. Clear out the tech below. Every piece of phase 2 on a truck and gone.
Yes, sir. With me.
Talk to me, Doctor.
Director,
Is there anything we know for certain?
the Tesseract is misbehaving.
Is that supposed to be funny?
No, it's not funny at all. The Tesseract is not only active, she's...
So now fury is usually, by definition that I've learned, anger, like in anger. So now this is Nick's anger is now coming out and being portrayed as this particular character. Why? Is that because one of the donkeys at Pin the Tail on the Donkey got my part wrong? I'm just curious. I don't want to report wrong with, like, elephant looming about over Don Keys.
behaving.
I assume you pulled the plug.
She's an energy source. We turn off the power, she turns it back on. If she reaches peak level...
We're prepared for this, Doctor. Harnessing energy from space.
We don't have the harness. My calculations are far from complete. She's throwing off interference, radiation. Nothing harmful, low levels of gamma radiation.
That can be harmful. Where's Agent Barton?
The hawk. Up in his nest as usual.
Agent Barton, report. I gave you this detail so you could keep a close eye on things.
Well, I see better from a distance.
Have you seen anything that might set this thing off?
Doctor, it's spiking again.
No one's come or gone. The Selvig's clean. No contacts, no IM. If there's any tampering, sir, it wasn't at this end.
At this end.
Yeah, the cube is a doorway to the other end of space, right? Doors open from both sides.
Not really sure what they're alluding to there, but I'm going to pause this for a second because there's a second scene seems really, really important. The translation at the bottom in English has this name, but my Spanish daughter version talking about souls and like how the souls just don't always seem to match up like perfectly. The conversation on the Avengers happens to be spelled one way, and in the Spanish edition, it spells different, but it's close enough that I'm like, maybe that's worth a mention. Now, here we are. They label this character Natasha. Um, and there's this train coming straight through. Um,
Не так я ожидал провести этот вечер.
Я знаю, что вы ждали. Так лучше, поверьте.
На кого ты работаешь? На Лерментова, да? Он все еще думает, что мы должны через него толкнуть наш товар?
Я думала, генерал Солигуб отвечал.
so here, she uses Solohab as the character for the Black Widow. But in here, it's, oh boy, what is it? I guess you'd have to have the correct edition of whatever the Queen's Library is suggesting and be in the book club that I entered with the exact order of the director of the book club that I will see again on Friday.
Шает за экспорт.
Сологуб. Курьер. Он прикрытие. Твоя устаревшая информация подводит тебя. Знаменитая черная вдова. Оказалось просто еще одно красивое личико.
Вы правда думаете, что я красива?
Скажи Лермонтову, что он нам не нужен, чтобы толкнуть так. Скажи ему, он выдал. Так... I have to write it down.
Да? Это Нью-Йорк.
Ты слушай внимательно.
We were at 114 Selensky Plaza, third floor. We have an F-22 exactly 8 miles out. Put the woman on the phone or I will blow up the block before you can make the lobby. We need you to come in.
Are you kidding? I'm working.
This takes precedence.
I'm in the middle of an interrogation. This moron is giving me everything.
I don't give everything.
I wasn't dressed in this fashion. However, when the Mojito gentleman showed up behind the bar at the meeting that Tia Frio took me to in the middle of Manhattan, it did go a lot like that. He's like, I know who you are. I'm like, yeah? Why don't you tell me who I am? And then he's like, I know you're not with him because you want to be. I'm like, oh, now you have my attention.
Look, you can't pull me out of this right now.
Tasha.
Pardon's been compromised.
Let me put you on hold. No,
We don't know.
but he's alive.
We think so. I'll brief you on everything when you get back. But first, we need you to talk to the big guy.
Coulson, you know that Stark trusts me about as far as he can throw me.
I've got Stark. You get the big guy.
Oh, je moi.
And when I say that I can't move, that I'm not moving like I'm normally in physics or physique, again, it used to be gymnastics and there was a lot more range of movement. Now I put my stats up and I'm tracking my health along with the GPS tracker. So range of motion has been deteriorating. I think it has something to do with the chemical changes and exchanges on the outside, inside the environment. The Channel 7 Eyewitness News, in their normal process of trying to do their daily, like, I don't know, you call it administration tasks, they're going after each other for some, I don't want to call it an excise tax, but some kind of, because I don't know how they actually refer to it, but some kind of taxation for commuters. But he made an announcement on the news tonight about what it's nitrous oxide and it's formaldehyde that's being pumped into the air, in the breathable portion of the air, which just further goes through what I've been saying with, like, again, in this increased amount of pneumonia that I've had, which is deteriorating. It's a partial deterioration. It's a part contributing factor to the deterioration of my health, for which I don't know how to counterbalance or countercorrect at this point. They've changed almost the chemical market and the chemical, I don't know about the markup, but they've changed the chemical market. So it's just by linguistics. And I don't know if it's by new product. I don't know if it's by linguistics. But in order to discern the correct information and follow it in a, like, from a calcaneus point of view, into trying, like, into the pharmalogic, it's been very difficult. And I don't know if this is part of their plan, if this is part of a larger schematic plan for some kind of unseating or overthrow. Again, my mind can go in 1,000 places. I'm just not comfortable with the results at this point, based on what I see in the field and how I've been treated. Now here's Bill Gates on this ABC World News Tonight with David Muir on that Chat GPT thing they got going on in the headlines. It's somebody else's
with
conversation.
Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates on artificial intelligence, the new tech.
The head twit, by the way, or the chief twit, that's what he calls himself, put out today that Twitter is doing some kind of purge of people who haven't been on the system in a while. That should clear up whatever and whatever.
New technology that's already here. It can solve complex problems, write essays, come up with recipes with a simple image of what's inside your refrigerator. It can even help doctors. Tonight, hear Bill Gates on why Americans should embrace it, but with caution. And when asked, is the U.S. government, are regulators ready? Not yet. Rebecca Jarvis with the interview tonight.
Tonight, the ABC News
Now, I've had an executive function, which is what they call neuropathy here. So anything cerebrum related or relatable. I've had interference through, is a cyber attack only through a computer? Or, I don't even know if they have the jurisdiction or the linguistics put through right now. Because they've had me in a series of rooms with no chain of command and no specific reporting or any kind of protocol structure built while I'm in private trying to multitask, let's just call it at this point. But I've been attacked, and he's saying that he doesn't think that they're set up for something.
Exclusive. Billionaire philanthropist and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates on his optimism.
And the other thing is that they call this, from the Avengers movie, they call it a tesseract. He is involved with something called Terra Power.
And his warning for Americans on the meteoric rise of artificial intelligence. Are you scared?
We're all scared that a bad guy could grab it. Let's say the bad guys get ahead of the good guys. Then something like cyber attacks, could be driven by an AI.
The White House, the administration, regulators here in the U.S., do you think they're up to speed?
Not yet.
They're not ready.
Not yet. I mean,
why are they not ready?
You're never going to.
Do they even have a standard letter of operating like language that they're all going off of, like all together now? Or are they still partisan? And is that partisan another layer of security? I don't really know how to answer any of that, but it is something that plays and weighs on me heavily after having been attacked. Which, if I say I was attacked through outer space, yeah, it was the outer space outside of my physical self, and it interfered with my executive function. How do you want me to put that in like better terms?
Every politician understanding it, but how do you build up a capacity to review things? They won't be the experts, but they have to be part of that discussion.
Why not put a pause to it while we just figure out some of these very basic things?
If you just pause the...
So who's in that room for those discussions when I have so clearly been attacked and I don't know where to voice my concerns and to report such a thing while I'm standing inside North America in the year 2023 or when it originally happened?
The good guys and you don't pause everyone else, you're probably hurting yourself. You definitely want the good guys to have strong AI.
Can you guarantee that?
If you stop the good guys, you can guarantee it won't happen.
Gates urging caution, but not pausing. We are with him in Kemmerer, Wyoming, about 3 hours south of Jackson.
This is actually the place where the nuclear island will be located.
Where he's working on his own innovation, the next generation of nuclear energy, with his company, TerraPower, determined to create cleaner, cheaper power and new high-tech jobs. Why are you so committed to nuclear energy?
Well, nuclear energy, if we do it right, will help us solve our climate goals.
What do you say to the critics who say it's expensive? There are the safety and security issues, and then there's the issue of radioactive waste.
Yes, today's plants are way too expensive. We've solved all the areas where there have been safety challenges, and we have dramatically less waste. But every one of those areas you mentioned, there are valid concerns that TerraPower has to show that we've solved.
Is everything different 10 years from now?
No, not everything. What people like to do, people wanting jobs in a community like Kemmerer, a lot will stay the same.
Not everything changes, David, but Bill Gates does acknowledge that building that whole new generation of reactors, it's going to take time. And even in the best case scenario, that plant in Wyoming, it won't open until 2030. And that's actually fast. He does argue that if all of this is done carefully and securely, nuclear can fight climate change. And on AI, Gates says it is American innovation that got us here. And now this is a global race. And David, he really wants us to lead, but he also wants the regulators here to get caught up and do it at lightning speed.
And we heard that message before from your previous coverage of AI. All right, artificial intelligence is here, and you'll stay on it. Thanks, Rebecca.
This piece about the particulates in the air, and the breathable air, and what's in there. And he also counts out county.
And Menendez say the proposal will have a negative impact on the environment in New York and New Jersey. Congestion pricing south of 60th Street will run $23 per driver. The plan could go into effect as soon as next year, and officials are worried about the harm it will do to residents in both states.
The MTA estimates in their report that there will be increases in traffic, pollutants, and mobile air toxins through 2045 in the Bronx, Staten Island, Nassau County, and Bergen County. Specifically, according to the MTA's report, there will be increases in particulate matter, nitrogen oxide, and carbon monoxide in Bergen County, as well as toxins like formaldehyde in the outer boroughs in northern New Jersey.
Well, the federal government greenlit the program last week, which means the next step is a 30-day public review period during which opponents can appeal.
Still to come, and I...
No idea what that means. No idea why in the year I'm sitting in, 2023, after whatever was known in the 1980s, and not wanting that particulate number and this breathable air to get worse over the upcoming decades, and now we're way past point of reason, and up until 2045 it's still increasing. That's concerning. So I mean, like, again, I have no comment on it other than the fact of at least now they're admitting what's in this dangerous fumes. And I'm having problems with other things in the area. At the same time, well, I mean, honestly, it just feels like being trapped amongst a collapsing system that was collapsing when I arrived in 1978, but hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's just dilated time and like almost buried me here. I mean, it's like, it's just terrible. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.